2, 1.
Welcome to Made for More Living.
One small step for man.
With Johnny Jennings.
Kick the tires and light the fires, Big Daddy.
The fastest and most exciting hour of news, events, and real estate in Northern California.
And this is a fact that was proved.
Powered by eXp Realty. Online at madeformoreliving.com.
Does everybody know what time it is?
Get ready. Here we go.
So on the show today, we have a exceptional guest. Imagine, if you will, you weigh 100 pounds heavier, you are saddled with debt, and you have like no net worth. And you're like, man, what am I going to do? Well, that's where you were a number of years ago, right, Matt?
Yeah, that's right, man.
So Payne, tell us exactly where you were. Like, I think, what is it? You paid off like $550,000 in 4 years?
Yeah, so our journey really started at like 2012, so 13 years ago. And it was 300 pounds, alcoholic, addictive sports gambler, smoking a pack or two of cigarettes a day, almost divorced, and didn't know I had, but was straddled with, $500,000 worth of debt.
How did you not know that you had $500,000 in debt?
We were just living this yo-yo lifestyle. And so like when we, got money, we bought things and we could afford the payments, and we just didn't have a relationship with money, just like I didn't have a relationship with food, barely had a relationship with my spouse. And so when you stack all of that together, and we were just kind of caught in the life transaction treadmill, if you would say, like there was no one in my world showing me or walking me through like, this is how you need to do it.
Mm-hmm. So you had just accumulated over time $550,000 in like consumer debt.
Yeah, and so and some mortgage debt, and so and as I walk agents and clients and people that are in my inner circle through entrepreneurs, like the financial transformation or creating any transformation, that first step is awareness.
Yeah,
and I just never had an awareness moment until 2012.
2012. And so what happened in 2012 where you're like, whoa, something needs to change?
Yeah, I mean, I had a couple different rock bottom moments in that season. I mean, again, I was just, as fast as I could make money, it was going back out. And my first rock bottom moment was actually during marriage counseling. And, I was asked a very specific question, from our counselor, and it's like, I've heard you the last 35, 40 minutes. I've just got one question. Could you go 90 days without a drink? And
interesting.
Yeah. And I didn't go there because of a drinking problem. I just went there because my wife and I were having tension and toxicity in our relationship.
Understandably so, with all the debt.
Yeah.
And everything.
I mean, we just didn't, I thought it was all her, and I didn't realize that it was, the person in the mirror. Right. And so, after a quick conversation, I said, I just don't know if that will actually change things. And he said, and the moment that I had was, he said, I don't know if you're going to do it, but I will tell you that you have 12 months or you're dead, divorced, and jail or broke.
Really? And
at that moment, I'm like, I get something. I had to start looking internal than external.
Mm-hmm. So you're like, okay, I don't know if stopping drinking for 90 days is going to change something, but I don't like what is going to happen in 12 months.
Yeah.
So then was that the first step? You stopped drinking?
Well, and so it wasn't. So that was my first look at something, what I call through the board, not at the board. And I didn't know it then. However, the very first thing that I knew I could do was I could affect what I put into my mouth. I could get up off the couch. So I actually started with a weight transformation.
Okay.
And I saw the pounds start coming down on the scale and started compounding some wins, right? 300, 296, 293, 289, on a weekly basis. So those wins encouraged me to not drink as much.
Because you wanted to lose more weight.
I wanted to lose more weight. So I just started, when I found the fork in the road, it was like, do I eat this or do I eat that? I turned it into do I drink this or drink that? And everything was focused on the weight loss. And so as I was going through this, now I'm 90 days in, I was able to not drink as much and drink different things. And eventually it got to a point where I was just tired of, throwing away days of sobriety by just having a drink.
Yeah.
It got to where I made a decision. So I had my awareness moment, I had my decision moment, and then on May 19th, I made a decision on the way home from an event that I wasn't going to drink the next day, and I haven't since.
May 19th, what year?
2012.
2012. Wow. So over a decade now.
Yeah, 12 plus years. My wife is at a decade sober. So yeah.
So that means she started after you. So
She
you
did.
Okay.
Yeah.
So she saw the benefits and the impact on you, and then followed suit.
Yeah. So so as we went through my weight loss transformation, ended up losing 100 pounds. I became sober. I quit. I broke my gambling addiction, smoking addiction. That got us exposed to entrepreneurship. We actually started getting healthier together.
Oh,
So
fun.
I started losing weight. She got into health and fitness. She actually got into bikini bodybuilding.
Oh, wow.
And so
that stuff's no joke.
That is no joke. And so part of that process, obviously, you don't really drink or drink very, very little. And so she started seeing that how much better she felt by not having any alcohol. And so, I can't remember if it was 13 or 14. I think it was 14. I think this was 10 years this year in August that she was like, I just don't need it anymore.
Wow. That's so cool that you guys get to do that together, because sometimes it's one person or the other.
Yeah.
And that can be hard. Man, that's so freaking cool. So you paid off in 4 years over $500,000 in debt, lost a bunch of weight, and it sounds like you also improved your relationship with your wife. Are you guys still in marriage counseling, or?
No, we're not.
No?
Although we have some intense fellowship conversations now, they just don't necessarily have a counselor sitting in
Sure.
front of us, right?
Yeah.
And so those rock bottom moments, right? You have the one sitting on the counselor's couch, and then almost 2 years later, we had the second one, which was my wife and I sitting on our own couch, and it was around money. And so we just didn't have any. And we had made all this money in 2012 and 2013 with our different businesses and, our jobs and our businesses. And I'm like, why are we, for the second year in a row, we had to hit my 401k and take a loan out in 2012. And then we took out a 401k loan of hers in 2013 just to make it these next 90 days. And I'm like, why do we have to keep repeating this cycle? And that's when I had my awareness moment of actually how much debt we were in, how much we were spending, how much we were actually making. But I had to go through all of the steps to get there.
Yeah.
And so, we had 60 to 90 days of cash. So we actually went through Dave Ramsey's Financial Peace University. I found a mentor who had done what I wanted to do.
Yep.
And, so when I started understanding what the Bible said around money, what entrepreneurs do with money, and how to start unpacking this, I realized it was so similar to becoming, losing 100 pounds and becoming sober and all of that stuff. I just knew that it was just math at this point.
Yep. You just got to implement the plan.
Yeah.
So what were some of those habits, or that you start, the healthy habits? Hey, I'm not going to drink anymore, but financially, what were some of those habits that you implemented?
So, going back to the simple habit of planning and tracking and planning your money before you spend it. And then once you spend it, tracking it to make sure that you're on plan for what you said at the beginning of the month. So the same way that people lose weight, right? You either burn more than you consume,
Yeah.
or you consume less than you burn. One is trying to outrun your fork. The other is actually paying attention to what you eat. And so I lost weight by a caloric deficit. And so when it came to the money, I was like, okay, if we make X and we spend Y, we can take the delta and aim it at debt. And so building the habit of looking at it on a daily basis and not worshiping it or worrying over it. It's just like, hey, for 5 minutes, for 7 minutes, I need to pay attention for this. And then what am I going to do with this extra money that we have left over? And so it's just being intentional, which is the third step to the transformation, is awareness, decision, intentionality. And so through that process of just building the habit of planning our money before the month began and then tracking it on a daily basis, changed everything.
Got it.
And then it gets exciting, and then you get then you're ticked off at the debt, and then you're like, hey, if I can go make this and only live on this, then and I call that lowering the water, right? If we can delay gratification and put this suffocating feeling on your expenses, Then you go raise the bridge, which is make more money. You've created this massive delta that the boat can actually go through, so that then eventually you can start aiming it at, then you can aim it at obligations, which then turns into opportunities, and that's how you build wealth.
So Valerie and I did something very, very similar. For those of you listening, Valerie's my wife. And what we ended up doing was we went through the Dave Ramsey snowball, snowball, 100%. Right? So we created a budget. We lived up. We had she had all the cash in the envelopes.
Yeah.
For the different budgets.
Dude, I
and
remember
stuff.
those days.
You did the same thing.
Yeah, back when we actually touched money.
Yeah, before the digital stuff.
Yeah.
But so we did all that, and then it was an absolute incredible feeling when all of a sudden, hey, I don't owe anybody any money anymore.
No.
But then that's a discipline that has to continue, because now you have all this extra money. It can be very easy to fall back into that trap. Did you guys ever experience that once you had the extra money, or was it still head down, going in a positive direction?
Yeah. So when we went through, baby step one, Ramsey stuff, right?
Yeah.
Again, I didn't know what I was doing, but I was building the coaching business that exists today. I just didn't know it.
Yep.
And so as I went through, and we put this massive downward pressure on lifestyle, still did the thing, still had a little bit of cake, still ate a little bit of ice cream, but it was still a lot of like chicken, brown rice, and broccolis, as a metaphor to just we just had to get through it. And then once we got to the other side, I had to figure out how to make more money, right? I was excellent at how to live on less. I was excellent at that. Had not built a skill set. I had skills, but I hadn't built it and monopolized it and monetized it on raising the bridge, which exposed me and got me into the world of real estate.
Oh.
And so that's how I got exposed to real estate in 2017. Was I got my license. I knew a bunch of agents. I lived in
everybody does.
Everybody does. And I was actually, my career was in the moving and storage industry, so I knew all of the players in my county that were selling all the houses, because I would help their clients move. And so as I was doing that, I was like, I should go sell real estate, right? And so, I joined a team because I didn't know how to sell real estate. I knew how to build relationships, have conversations, but I didn't know how to sell real estate. I had to know how to write a contract. And so after I figured out, and in my first 30, 60 days, had a commission check coming in, it was like 10 grand. I'm like, now what am I going to do with this 10 grand? Because I'm living on nothing. My wife's salary covers our expenses. I'm like, what am I going to do with this? So I went around our market center in Reston, Virginia, and I started asking real estate agents, what would you do with your first $10,000 check or your next $10,000 check? And I didn't hear invest in real estate, hire a coach, find a marketing, get more agents,
invest in your business. What did you hear?
I heard pay last year's taxes and next month's car note.
Yikes.
And I'm like, my new client is the real estate agent.
Because you've been there.
I've been there.
Got it. And so when we come back from the break, we're going to dive into how you help agents become financially free.
If you are thinking about selling your home, but you're feeling a little nervous, a little reluctant because you don't want to do all those much needed repairs, the cost, the time. You don't want to do showings and get your home staged and clean it and organize it. Guess what? There's a really easy option. Johnny Jennings will get you at least 3 cash offers on your home in as-is condition. It's not too good to be true. Just reach out to him, Johnny Jennings with Made for More Realty, and he'll get you at least 3 cash offers today. Just Google Johnny Jennings with Made for More Realty today and get more for your home.
This is Made for More Living with Johnny Jennings, powered by eXp Realty. Online at madeformoreliving.com.
So on the show today, we have Matt Plumer, and he was talking about how he lost over 100 pounds in weight and paid off over $500,000 in debt. And at the end of the previous segment, Matt, you said what most real estate agents are focused on financially is on last year's taxes and next month's car note. That just hit me upside the head because that is so true in our industry. Why do you think that is?
Well, from that moment, moving forward, and after thousands of conversations and creating hundreds of financial transformations, the 2 things that bring the most stress and anxiety for real estate agents is inconsistent income and financial disorganization. And so when you have a inconsistent income or you're financially disorganized, you're seeing at the board, you can't see far enough down the line of time to start aiming, all your money towards opportunities because you're strapped with these obligations.
Yep.
The obligations of a car payment, the obligations last year's taxes, or this month's, lead generation bill, or whatever it might be of all of the things that are strapping and weighing real estate agents, team leaders, and broker owners down. And so when you're trying to go two directions at one time, you get exhausted, right? And so if you're trying to get from one, north and south, can you go north and south at the same time?
No.
And so when you try to do that, you just burn up the engine. And so when real estate agents that are running 900 miles an hour have a flat tire, they're trying to change the flat tire while they're going 80 miles an hour down the road.
Yeah.
Right. And so, I've read it in a book, right? They're running enthusiastically in the wrong direction. So, we have to pull off the side of the road, tap pause, change the flat tire, check the other tires, look under the hood, maybe change an oil belt or do an oil change, change the timing belt, and then get back on the interstate going in one direction, aiming at all of our money at obligations. So then we can take everything for the rest of our lives and aim it at opportunities.
That's a huge paradigm shift. That's a shift in habits, a shift in spending.
Massive.
You got your spouse on the right page if you have a spouse. What is what's some tips? Like, you have a strategy. I think you call it the wealth strategy. How do you lead people into that, going in one direction and just attacking their obligations? Yeah.
So it's called the wealth method, right? And so the W is wisdom, right? And so the wisdom is the understanding, the learning, the psychology behind it, the building the relationship with, even actually going through the financial transformation of awareness, decision, intentionality, getting on the same page with your business partner, with your spouse or your team leader or whoever it might be, or your operations person, and truly mapping out the plan, right? One of the things that I do with all of my, coaching clients is we build a wealth map. And, that all starts with the Oz at the end of the rainbow or the end of the yellow brick road of like, what is it that you want? Yeah. Because most people, the number one mistake that agents make is they don't know how or when they're going to exit the transaction treadmill.
This is true.
They have no idea. And so then if
they've even considered it.
If they even thought about it, they're just like, hell, I'm going to sell real estate until the day I die.
Yeah.
Right? Which is what happens by default. Right? And so we have to intercept that and say, hey, what is it that you want? When do you want it? And when do you want to have your throw the phone in the ocean moment to where you don't have to take a listing? You don't have to go to work. Right? You can go on that vacation you and I were talking about. It's like, hey, we can go here and your phone doesn't work and I don't have stress and anxiety because my phone doesn't work.
Oh my gosh. This reminds me of a conversation I had yesterday with some friends who are in real estate. And they're like, they know my dad. My dad comes around and we all smoke cigars and hang out together. And they're like, so where's your dad been recently? Because my dad likes to travel. Mm-hmm. And, I told him, he just recently been to Machu Picchu and saw Christ the Redeemer in Brazil, and then he's planning to go to the Taj Mahal and the Great Wall this next year. And like, what did he do? Was he like a stockbroker, like a doctor? Like, what kind of crazy income did he have that allowed him to do this? I said he was a teacher for 40 years. He did not make a whole lot of money.
Teacher. Right?
Yeah, he didn't make a whole lot of money, but he was very intentional with what he had. Mm-hmm. And now he has that retirement coming in that enables him to live a free lifestyle. So he's not making rock star money, but he's free. Yeah. And so many people in our industry, in real estate and in other potentially high earning incomes and industries, they make the money, but they just don't have a plan. Yeah. So that's something that you help them do.
Yeah. So in the wealth method, we create a wealth map that says, hey, if this is what we want, when we want it at year 12 from now or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And obviously kids and time and season of life, all that stuff plays into it.
Yeah.
And so then we just work the numbers backwards and say, okay, what has to be true at that point? I need this amount of money coming in. This is the life I want, et cetera, et cetera. And so we build our yellow brick road back to the now. And we say, like, okay, that means we have to go sell X amount of houses. And when when Y amount of money comes in, this is what we're going to do with the money in 2025, or at least the first quarter, right? Because real estate agents don't make as much as they think. We spend more than we care to admit, and that causes us to be behind on taxes and or retirement.
Yep.
Right? So we have to understand all of these facts and truths about money and build a relationship with it. so that on our way, the E is earn, because you have to go earn money and you have to accumulate money, which is the A, so that you can add age to it, so that when you have that money and you have that month where the closing falls through, or something happens, an emergency, or hey, you want to go to this event and you didn't save any money and you can't go to the event, but if you save the money over the course of the year, you can just write the check and fly first class and stay in the presidential suite and all that stuff, right? We have to have a plan. We have to earn money. We have to accumulate money so we can lend money by tracking it to build health and habits.
Health and habits. Love it. So what so many agents do though is that it's called, I've heard it called standing naked in front of the mirror. Like you just have to stand naked in front of the mirror and just accept, like, this is me. This is the situation I'm at. How do you take somebody who's got their head buried in the sand? Because this is true for anybody. This isn't just real estate agents.
Yeah.
This is a mechanic who's in debt.
This is the husband sitting on the counselor's couch with his wife on the other end in tears, blaming her for everything.
Yeah. I've never been there. I don't know at all what that looks like. Yeah.
Who knows what that looks like?
Who knows? Yeah. But so how do they come to you and have already had this moment, or do you help them walk through that moment?
So I would say half the people that come to me already know they have a crisis situation, right? They have, they've sold 50 houses in the last 12 months and they have $7,000 in their bank account and they haven't filed taxes in 2 years.
Yikes.
It's actually not a bad problem, right? It's a challenge that we're there. However, if you can make the money, we can solve all the problems, right? I read in a book that if you have enough money to solve a problem, you no longer have a problem. Right? So if you make enough money, we can solve the problem. And so we can create consistent income. We can create the map. And so when the person comes to me that's like, hey, I make plenty of money, I'm like, now it's just math, right? It's just time and math. By building the right habits, right? Because we have to change some of the things, right? We have to change the overeating. We have to change the overspending. We have to change the, hey, I'm going to go buy this on a credit card because I have 4 closings coming in December, and interest rates never go up, or they, we never have a pandemic, or an election changes something, right? That never happens.
I have 4 deals closing. It's guaranteed to happen,
right? And so when agents don't make as much as they think, and we all spend more than we care to admit, like, and there's no plan, like that's when the stress comes in. That's when the disaster comes in, and the credit card bill comes in for the trip to go to Machu Picchu that wasn't planned, and it's $14,000, and you forget about it 60 days later. You're like, oh, I got a $14,000 credit card bill from a trip that I forgot about.
Yep. It just compounds. So it sounds like so obviously you have to recognize there's a problem. If you don't think that there's an opportunity for improvement, then why change? But then moving beyond that, the next important thing sounds like having a plan and sticking to the plan. Yeah.
So that awareness, so kind of back to the standing in the naked in the mirror, is like the hardest part is coming to that mirror and then not having shame, blame, and guilt for how you look.
That's good.
And you have to look through that, because that is just an accumulation of all the decisions that you've made up until today. That's all it is. It's just the facts. The facts are truth, and the truth will set you free. So if you just say, hey, I look like this, I wear this, I have this much money, I've closed this many houses, I have this relationship with my spouse, and these are the facts. And you're like, I can change all of this by one decision on getting off the couch and getting in some extra steps and tracking what I put into my body. We can do the exact same thing with money. We can do the exact same thing with our business when it comes to lead generation and relationships and all of that. The framework stays the same. Then you get to that intentionality to where it's like, okay, I'm going to do this every day.
Yeah.
And I'm going to text my accountability partner. I'm going to hire a coach, and I'm just going to show a screenshot that I checked every dollar today, or I checked my Fitness Pal, or whatever it is. And like, it's the finish line will come to you, and it'll come to you so much faster. That's what happened to us. When we paid off the debt, and then we started building money, and then, as you're building the habits, and now you can see further down that line of time. And we started asking ourselves questions like, if we could live anywhere, where would it be? And why do we live where we live? Because we now didn't have any debt, and we were living on my wife's income, and I've started selling a couple of houses, and I'm having these conversations with people that are like, hey, I'll pay you to walk me through this journey. And I'm like, what has to, and then so I'm like, if I go actually pull this off, like what life could Melinda and I go live? And by impacting people. And so then we just started looking as like, hey, why do we live where we live in Northern Virginia?
I'm sorry.
It was all because of our jobs and our careers. And we were strapped with this debt because that was our identity. Well, now it's gone. And we focused so hard on like lowering the water and kind of raising the bridge to where now it's like, if we could live anywhere, where would it be? And where would we love? And what don't we like? Well, at that point in my career, in 19, I'm like, I don't like rain. I don't like cold. I don't like gray. I don't like clouds. I don't like traffic. I don't like congestion. I don't like stress. And I'm like, I live in Northern Virginia.
There you go.
Okay.
Just checked all the things you don't like.
Yeah, exactly. And so I'm like, what do we want? I was like, I want 300 days of sunshine. I want no income taxes. I want a high quality outdoor life. And I want to play 300, or I want to be able to play 200 rounds of golf. And I'm like, well, I just eliminated 98% of the country.
Yeah, California's not on that list.
In 6 minutes, I got to either Phoenix or Las Vegas.
Yep.
And so we saved up money to go to Phoenix, and we saved up money to go to Las Vegas. And we were like, what would it look like? What would have to be true for us to live here? And it turned into a coaching business. It turned into building an agent organization. And I hired a coach that had done something similar. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, all right, now it's just math.
Yep.
And conversation by conversation by conversation of doing the exact same thing. Now I'm doing it in a business and raising the bridge. 18 months, we had enough money saved to where we can go buy a house in Las Vegas.
Boom. And that's where you are now.
And that's where we live now.
That's so awesome. So your story's very, very similar to Valerie and mine, where we were working in the small town where I grew up, had a fantastic job, but had accumulated some debt. Mm-hmm. We ended up paying off the debt. And during that period of time, we also traveled all 50 states trying to figure out where we wanted to live. So if the world was your oyster, if we could pick it, if we could pick the spot, where would we pick? And it came down, and we thought we honestly were going to leave California. But we just like the weather here too much. And so it was either going to be Newport, California, or Sacramento, Roseville. Mm-hmm. And so, obviously here we are recording in Sacramento, so we chose Sacramento. But it was so empowering to be able to make that choice because we weren't, bogged down with debt. And so for people who are listening to this, hearing your story, it sounds, when I have the conversation about fitness, because I used to be almost 50 pounds heavier. Mm-hmm. When I have the conversation about debt or business or anything like that, people tend to retract because they don't want to make those changes. It sounds constricting. It sounds painful. But when I hear you talk about it, I feel empowered. I feel energized. I'm like, this is totally doable for me. Like I'm here. I could get there. What would you say to people who are maybe feeling like this won't work for me? Yeah. Well, money doesn't know you, and money doesn't know what you do, right? And so money is amoral, right? I mean, It can, like this microphone. This microphone can, obviously record this, or I can throw it through the window, and it can be a weapon, right? And so I think that's the thing in that awareness decision moment of like, what do you want your identity to be, and looking through the board of saying, hey, these next 6 to 12 months may be a little rough. It may be a little rocky. But I'm doing this for a lifetime, and I'm doing this for a legacy, not only leaving one, but living one. And, 80 years from now, what do I want to be doing? Mm-hmm. Right? Or 40 years from now, depending on where you are on the scale of time, like 20 years from now, what do I want to be doing? Yeah. Like, do you still want to be worrying about back taxes 20 years from now? Do you still want to be worrying about, like, I don't have enough money in my retirement account 20 years from now? Yeah. Like, if you don't want that, then we have to look at the pain and, like, and it's not even the pain, it's just the being, at the end of the day, like, don't create more problems by not being an adult. Yeah. Like, let's be an adult. Let's grow up. Let's face our fears. Let's look at the facts. Yeah. And let's go do something about it so that 18 months from now, I don't have to tell our kids, or we don't have any kids, but I don't tell my wife that we can't afford it, or we can't do this because of that.
No.
And there's always going to be an element of, hey, we can't afford it. Like, it'd be really cool to own a 300-foot yacht. Okay, great. We can't afford it, But the things that really matter to you, the things that you feel like you're getting left out in life, you're able to still have that freedom to enjoy those things.
My wife in 2017, we went to New York City for her birthday. And this was right after we had paid off debt, and I hadn't sold any real estate yet, like maybe a couple of houses. And so when we went to New York City, it was like strap for time, strap for money, strap for like experiences. Mm-hmm. And it was one of the most stressful. It was one of the most stressful experiences. And like on the way home, we took the train up from DC, and I'm like, "How was that?" And she was like, "Well, the carrot cake was good." And I'm like, I never want to go on another trip like that. And she said, well, good news is next year and from here on out, I want to go to a new country for my birthday. And I'm like, okay, well, we just paid off all this debt. Like, we get a little bit of breathing room? And she was like, yeah, and it's going to be Australia.
Okay. So she picked a cheap country.
So she picked a cheap one that's like right around the corner, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, my initial thought was like, you're crazy, lady. We live in a 1,000 square foot apartment and you want to go spend 15 grand on a vacation?
To Australia.
And I'm like, why Australia? And she's like, so I can swim with great white sharks.
This is just getting better and better.
And I'm like, we can't do that anywhere else in like the United States? And she was like, no, it's in a place called Port Lincoln. Port Lincoln's the size of the studio. So it's not like you can fly there like on an airline.
Yeah.
Like you have to like drive and parachute in and like do all this crazy stuff to get to Port Lincoln. And so as we started investigating this, and this is looking through the board, not at the board, I'm started like, okay, flights are this, hotels this, food's this. And I'm like, we can save $1,500 a month and I can do this trip.
That's cool. And were you guys able to do it?
100%.
That's awesome.
And so on the way home, we started saying, okay, where do we want to go next year? Where do we want to go the next year? And so it's been Australia, and it's Belize and St. Lucia and Machu Picchu, and last year we did her dream trip was Dubai.
Wow.
All from saving and planning and being intentional with this while we built a house, while we bought a house, while we moved, while we joined a golf club, while we've paid off and eliminated obligations, and while we've invested, and it keeps a downward pressure on our expenses. We have a line item for intentionality on increasing lifestyle. However, it keeps us focused on increasing the bridge and up and to the right on our revenue, which comes to impact.
And so what I'm hoping people are hearing is I'm hoping they're feeling empowered and that they know that change is possible. But you're right. There are some people who, maybe might be listening to this and in their late teens, early 20s, or that are maybe in their 60s, 70s. But change happens so fast when you get laser focused on it.
My mom and stepdad just celebrated their 35th wedding anniversary.
Congratulations!
Yeah, they're all stars, and we started our journey in 2014. And again, like the son trying to tell his mom what to do with money is like, "Hey, I wiped your butt. You can't tell me what to do."
Yeah.
Until we started getting some wins, and that got her encouraged and started asking questions. And so we led my mom and stepdad on a journey, and this was in 15, so a decade ago. They're 70 and 71 now, so this was in their 60s. That's 60 years old. They hadn't talked about money.
Wow.
Right? And again, their marriage was fine. It was great. It was up and to the right. They hadn't ever built a relationship with money until Melinda and I started like having conversations with them about it and doing it from a place of love and not like telling mom and dad what to do.
Sure.
And so, they got on the same page, and whatever remaining little debt they had, they got intentional with it, and they got on a plan, and they organized the stuff because money was going into 14 different little savings accounts for Christmas and Easter and this. And I'm like, all right, we'll do that, but let's get it all in one pot first. Mm-hmm. So we added some organization to it. And I mean, they're 6 months away from paying off their house in a decade.
Wow.
Because they got laser focused. They go on an annual monthly trip in March because the weather in Indiana is so amazing. So they go to the warm places, right? And so like they get to do all of these things at 70 because they said yes at 60.
Correct.
And they get to do it for the next 15, 20 years.
They don't have to wait.
They don't have to wait.
Yeah. That's so freaking cool.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for being on the show today, Matt. Guys, if you want to reach out and learn more about Matt, you can, of course, go to madeformorerealty.com. We'll get you in contact with Matt Plumer. But they can also, where's an easy place for them to find you?
MattPlumer.com. MattPlumer.com.
Man, that's solid. That's a good email or a
Yeah.
good URL.
Yep.
You're lucky you have that. All right. Thanks again for being on the show, Matt.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
If you are thinking about selling your home, but you're feeling a little nervous, a little reluctant because you don't want to do all those much needed repairs, the cost, the time. You don't want to do showings and get your home staged and clean it and organize it. Guess what? There's a really easy option. Johnny Jennings will get you at least 3 cash offers on your home in as-is condition. It's not too good to be true. Just reach out to him, Johnny Jennings with Made for More Realty, and he'll get you at least 3 cash offers today. Just Google Johnny Jennings with Made for More Realty today and get more for your home.
This is Made for More Living with Johnny Jennings, powered by eXp Realty. Online at madeformoreliving.com.
Matt, so are you handy? Do you do a lot of work around the house?
I try to be. I watch my share of YouTube videos and try to figure out how to repair the washer, the dryer, but I'm no expert. It's
YouTube
like trial and
University.
error. Right. A lot of times I screw it up and then I have to call a repairman after my wife has said, you didn't do this right. Come on. I know how to change a light bulb.
Yeah. You can so you can do some light stuff around the house, but
I like to try. You
like
know,
to try?
I'm a man. I like to feel like I'm capable of doing something.
So
my wife does all the laundry, so I feel like I should at least
contribute.
give it a shot.
Yeah. I used to feel the same way. My wife, does all the laundry, but she's just way more mechanically inclined.
So you do not do any home improvement projects? You're not
no.
a handyman?
No.
Do you mow the lawn?
Oh, no. I've mowed the lawn once in my life.
Wow.
Actually, twice. I mowed it once as a kid, once when Valerie and I bought our first place, but that was it. Because there's great people like Spencer Peters in the world, right? So for those of you who are listening to the show or watching it, we have Spencer Peters on the show. He is a handyman extraordinaire. We've worked with you, man, I think going back to 2019.
Something like that, yeah.
I think back to 2019. So for a number of years, and especially on the 50 side, that's where you specialize, right?
Yeah, Gold River, Eldorado Hills, all the way up to Roseville, down to Elk Grove.
Down to Elk Grove. Man, I love Elk Grove. I don't know.
Do you really?
I really do. I really love Elk Grove.
Why? It's like another town.
It's another town.
It's like, you live in Roseville. That's like almost a 45-minute to an hour drive to Elk Grove. It's just, I love the Elk Grove people. It's just different to me. I don't know. Maybe I'm weird, but I'm not familiar with it. It's just, I don't know.
No, I get it. But so when Val and I first moved here, we did a lot of business in Elk Grove, and so it just brings back a lot of fond memories. It reminds me of Clovis, which is a community outside of Fresno, and so it just feels very homey to me. But it gets a lot of hate, and I don't understand it. I'm like, Elk Grove's really nice. The schools are nice.
I think it's because it's so close to Stockton. The closer you get to Stockton,
it just starts heating up. Start getting close to hell.
Yeah.
No, we love the people in Elk Grove, though. We've got a lot of listeners in Elk Grove, and they're awesome people.
Yeah, no, I love Elk Grove, and they got the cigar lounge now at the casino. So
they built the casino. I've never been down there since.
I've only gone once, and it was for the cigar lounge. So Elk Grove's moving up in the world. But
so I'm curious, real quick question for Spencer.
Let's hear it.
How would you define a handyman? How would you define it?
Handyman, home repairs and maintenance is pretty much.
Maintenance.
I think that's what my business cards say.
Okay.
As defined by your business cards. Love it.
But did you want to do this when you were in high school? Let's say you were a junior and a senior, and everybody else is thinking about which college I'm going to go to. You were not thinking that.
No, I like working with my hands. I was, pulling apart TVs, lawnmowers, whatever, just to see how it worked and trying to put it back together.
Oh, you were that kid.
Oh, yeah.
Could you get them back together working?
My mom stopped me with the TV.
Okay.
The mercury. But yeah, every repair on my vehicles I did myself because I refused to pay a mechanic.
Okay.
YouTube University is actually a real thing.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Did your dad do stuff like that? Where did you learn that from?
Yeah. So my dad worked out of town And then my mom had a preschool at the house. So if a preschool parent, ran over a sprinkler or a garden hose spigot or the horses broke the fence, I would stay home and fix it.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
That's awesome.
So you've been doing this for a long time. Like you grew up doing this.
Oh, yeah.
And so, so you're a handyman, but you're also a general contractor.
Right.
So what's the benefit to having? So a lot of people are typically one or the other. I don't see them kind of straddle that fence. What made you decide to? Hey, we're going to provide handyman services, but also GC services.
The handyman was my stepping stone towards contractor's license.
Yep.
Because after 5 years of being an independent contractor in multiple trades, I qualified to take the test for general contractor.
Okay. Was it a hard test?
Not really, but they don't give you any. It's just pass or fail. I was like, so which questions did I get wrong? Because I really want to know.
Yeah.
And they won't tell you. But it was more nerve-wracking than difficult.
Okay. So you got your license, and now what's your business look like? Like what kind of services do you advertise?
Eldorado Construction, we specialize in remodeling and decks.
Oh my gosh, decks.
Yeah.
Yep, we've had you out a couple of times on some decks.
Yeah, we love doing decks. But handyman is you name it. People call me for all sorts of things.
Got it. And so when they call you, is it you going out there? Or do you have some guys that you work with? Like, what's that look like?
Yeah, it depends on what they're looking for. Any one of us can usually do the handyman stuff. The general contractor stuff is just bigger jobs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a lot of the handyman clients then transition into, you also do remodels. So that's
there
been
you
nice.
go.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And so what we're big proponents of, so people listening to the show are probably either agents, buyers, or sellers, or people looking to invest in real estate. And on the show, we are big proponents of getting that pre-inspection done ahead of time, home pest roof, pool, sewer lateral, that type of stuff, septic, well. And what we would recommend is typically you get some quotes on those jobs. Like if you're getting it from like Good Life, who's a fantastic inspection company, they'll provide some bids on there. But oftentimes those bids are 40% higher than what the market would charge, not because they're trying to gouge the customer, but because you're paying for speed. Those bids are, hey, we're going to get this done in the escrow period. But if you get the work done ahead of time, it can save that seller a whole lot of money and a whole lot of uncertainty about what are they going to make off the sale of their home. So do you get a lot of requests from potential sellers saying, hey, I'm thinking about putting my house on the market. Can you come in and kind of fix some things up?
Absolutely. And I usually tell them, get an inspection, and then I'll just go down that checklist.
There you go. And then the inspection company can come back out, certify the work's done. And now, so for those listeners, Section 1 on a pest inspection report are things that are more important and need to be done. Section 2 are things that can lead to Section 1. So like Section 2 would be like earth to wood contact, right? Section 1 would probably be like dry rot, deck issues, mold, termites, things like that. So if somebody's looking to sell their home, what is it? You said you would go in, you would request that they get the inspection done, but will you walk the property too if they don't want to do that and just point out certain things? Or like, if you were getting your home ready, out of all the homes you've worked on, put a better way, what things would you prioritize in your house fixing as a handyman?
In my own house, I would be very thorough. I'd want everything to be, completely dialed in. But when it comes to homeowners that don't want to do a inspection first, I usually just check the most common things I see. How's the water heater?
Like strapped and braced type of a thing?
Exactly.
Okay.
The right lines connected to it. Did they use PVC instead of copper? Stuff like that. And then I just walk around for obvious visible dry rot.
You don't use the poker. You just look.
Well, yeah. If you can usually see it, and then you poke it.
Okay.
Yeah, just to verify.
Man, they jabbed the siding. Have you seen them do it?
Oh yeah.
I'm like, oh my gosh, it was fine before you jabbed it. Sometimes people get a little aggressive with that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you're looking for the dry rot. You're looking at strapping and bracing. So probably like smoke detectors, carbon monoxide.
Oh yeah.
Light bulbs.
The light bulbs. Change a lot of light bulbs.
You do?
Oh yeah.
Matt sounds like Matt might need some help over at his house. Still trying to figure out how to do that.
Well, sometimes they've been in there for so long they get stuck.
Do you have a tip on that? How to get them out?
Take those out. I don't want to get electrocuted. I've got an important job here.
Well, turn the light off. and then
gotcha. Do you need to turn the circuit breaker off?
no.
No. Okay.
There you go.
I heard you can use a potato to take out a light bulb that's been broken.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
I usually just use pliers and shimmy it
There you go.
and luck.
Yeah.
And luck.
And luck.
So if people are now, let's say, so we talked about getting the house ready. You focused on those little to do things. Roughly, how much does that cost? Like if somebody was to hire you to, hey, let's get the house ready to list. What type of a budget are they looking at? Just like a range.
It completely varies.
I know. No decks.
No decks.
Yeah.
Okay. Generally, just to spruce it up, we can do everything in a day. So if it's one guy, it's like $650. If it's two or three, it's $14 to $15.
What does that include?
Like what kind of work?
That can go from drywall patches, touch-up paint everywhere, replacing smoke detectors or batteries in smoke detectors, a few fascia boards, strapping the water heater. What else would there be?
And you guys will run. You'll get the fascia boards, and they don't have to have all the supplies. You guys will get the supplies and come back.
Yeah, absolutely. Most people don't have a truck to do that.
That's fair.
Or the lumber rack for the truck.
That is
just
a good
making
question.
sure.
What kind of truck are you using? Is it a Ford, a Toyota, a Ram, a Chevy, a GMC? People want to
Ford.
know that. That's important.
Yeah,
a
Ford.
It's a
250,
Ford.
150, 350?
Now it's a 250.
Okay.
I've had 4 Fords in my life.
That is the most popular brand. I think that's the most popular selling truck of all time is the Ford 250.
Oh, yeah.
It's
I mean,
the
they're beautiful.
F-150 is the most selling.
Oh, wow.
Fact check, Matt.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I'm a Toyota. My dream car is a Toyota Tacoma, a black one. That's sitting out in the parking lot right now.
You have one?
No. I want that though.
All right.
One day.
Yeah, they're awesome trucks.
They're
They're
not
just a little small
necessarily
for what you're doing.
workhorse.
Yeah.
They're not. Yeah, they're not a workhorse like a Ford F-250. But I'm not a handyman.
Yeah. I mean, the 150 did great for the handyman stuff. It's just when we started doing general contracting and we got a big dump trailer that we needed the 250.
Yep. I have a buddy. He just got a GMC 250 or 2500.
Yeah.
And same type of a reason. He was driving a boat back from Truckee, and he was like in his little GMC Sierra or whatever. Like, what is that, 1500? And he just felt like he was getting pushed all over the place. So he's like, hey, for safety purposes, we got to upgrade the truck.
Yeah.
But, okay, so roughly, somewhere between $600, $1,400, get your home show ready, which I highly recommend. Like, people always ask me, hey, what's the best return on my money? If I'm going to fix something, what's the best thing? Like, I want to guarantee I'm going to make the most out of the sale of this property, but I don't want to put a whole lot of money into it. Number one thing, obviously clean, do a deep cleaning. Beyond that, get a handyman out there and fix all those little honeydews. You know, just get the home ready. And so for $1,500, you're going to sell your home for thousands of dollars more than what that $1,500 was going to cost you. So it's money and time well spent. But now let's say somebody bought the house, and so oftentimes what we like to do is when we're representing buyers or sellers, we negotiate a credit. So rather than the repairs be completed during escrow, we say, hey, just give us X amount of dollars. It looks like it's going to cost $5,000 for these repairs. Give us give my clients the $5,000, and they'll complete those repairs after the sale closes. The problem is the sale closes, and many times people forget about them. They move on with their life, or they just don't know who to call. What type of repairs do you typically see? Like, do homeowners that just purchased the home, they moved in, what do they typically call you for? Is it the same honeydew stuff that was done on the pre-list, or is it different things?
Then it normally comes down to inconveniences, doors that don't open perfectly, toilet that won't stop running, or a loose toilet seat, towel bars. The kitchen or the bathroom towel bars, we do hundreds and hundreds.
Are you serious?
Oh yeah.
Just because they got knocked off and they're
yeah, they didn't put the right anchors in, or they didn't use an anchor at all, or
they just screwed it in and they hung the towel and it fell.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, towel bars, man! For those of you who are listening, he has the biggest grin on his face. How much money do you think you made off towel bars?
10,000.
That was a money smile. Yeah, that was a money smile when you said towel bars. Oh my goodness! Talking about towel bars though, a trend that I'm starting to see more Matt and I have talked about this in the past, are bidets. So a lot of people are getting, like, if you don't have the outlet or the electrical in the bathroom or the wherever the water closet, they're having to get it, piped in. Do you guys do any electrical work?
Oh yeah, we add GFIs for the bidets pretty often.
Okay, so bidets are a thing. So you've noticed an uptick in bidets, or is it?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
really?
Yeah.
All right.
What is a bidet for those that are not familiar?
It sounds like a French pastry, but it is not a French pastry.
It's not a beignet.
Beignet. It's not a beignet. I know you love those.
So that's what I was thinking. It's like I'm in the bathroom, enjoy some nice beignets.
Well, you do what you want. You do what you want with your beignets.
Beignet is different than a bidet.
A bidet. Yeah, so the bidet, I don't even know how to spell it. But
is that something where you clean your bum after you're done?
Yep.
Yes. No toilet paper needed.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. Wow.
Save the trees, kill the
I
whales.
would be comfortable utilizing something like that.
Other countries use them.
Yeah.
Well, that's great. Good
so
for
I
them.
see it more. Yeah, I'm starting
If
to
I
see.
want to take a shower, I'll take a shower.
Right.
I mean, do you? Any of you?
I've never used a bidet. I've never used a bidet. I've
No.
never used a bidet.
No.
It's set up for one, but I have
It's
never used
America.
one. America.
It's America, everybody.
Spencer, have you used a bidet?
One time.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
He had
One
to
time.
test it out. He installed one. He had to try it out.
Oh my
No, it
gosh.
wasn't a client's.
And how? So you used it once and never tried it again
Yeah. Yeah.
because it was that uncomfortable.
Yeah, I was actually at a party in high school. They're like, we have a bidet. I'm gonna go try
Hey,
that. Bad
Sounds
boy.
like there's
Other
more to this
kids are
story.
trying other things in high school. High school that Spencer went to, they tried out the bidet at the party.
Oh my
That
gosh.
tells you what kind of party Spencer was going to.
All right. Well, so bidets, but another thing is towel warmers. Have you seen those increase in popularity?
No, actually.
Oh my gosh.
My goodness, because you were
What is a
talking
towel
about
warmer?
you were talking about the towel racks, the towel warmers. I freaking love them. We just got one, and I didn't know what they were at first. Like I walked into the house and I didn't know what these were. I was like, "This is the most stupid looking towel rack I have ever seen in my life." Like this, it takes up all this space, and it's So imagine two metal pieces going vertically, and then just a bunch of metal slots going horizontally. So it's like, how do you even like it's really close together. How do you get your towel in there? Like this is just weird. And Valerie goes, "You idiot, that's a towel warmer." And the benefit is they're all in timers, and so you can set it and you just push the timer on. So you're brushing your teeth, you get in the shower, and then you grab the towel off the rack, and it's nice and toasty.
Nice.
And that's what a towel warmer is. So yeah, I will not do a bidet, or I have not done a bidet, but I'll do towel warmers every day.
Just throw your towel in the dryer.
Yeah.
But then you gotta run to the dryer and run back, But so no towel warmers.
No, actually.
Let's do it. You should do an upsell. Hey, yes, I could install the towel rack, but we're running a special right now on towel warmers.
Yeah. Ever heard of the future?
Ever heard of the future? Yeah, here we go. So so people they're getting the pre-listing done. They are calling you once they've moved into the house, and they're getting the towel racks and those other little things fixed. When we come back from the show, I really want to touch on why we like working with you and why you are different than the typical handyman. Back after this.
If you are thinking about selling your home, but you're feeling a little nervous, a little reluctant because you don't want to do all those much needed repairs, the cost, the time. You don't want to do showings and get your home staged and clean it and organize it. Guess what? There's a really easy option. Johnny Jennings will get you at least 3 cash offers on your home in as-is condition. It's not too good to be true. Just reach out to him, Johnny Jennings with Made for More Realty, and he'll get you at least 3 cash offers today. Just Google Johnny Jennings with Made for More Realty today and get more for your home.
This is Made for More Living with Johnny Jennings, powered by eXp Realty. Online at madeformoreliving.com.
So Spencer, there's a lot of handymen out there, and besides, the fact that you've used a bidet, and maybe other handymen have not used bidets, what makes you different than the other handymen out there?
What I've heard from my clients' past experiences with handyman is they set the bar really low. I focus on presentation, showing up clean, keeping their house clean before and after the work
And during,
is done.
probably.
And during.
Yeah.
I just try my best to do exactly what they're looking for, and open and honest communication of what I can and can't do. Because in the beginning, there was a lot of things I just couldn't do, and they loved it when I said, I don't know. And they're like, thank you so much for being honest instead of trying and making it worse.
Don't fake it till you make it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Love that. And so, Matt, do you have any questions?
Well, sometimes, especially last year, the past couple of years, we've had some pretty strong winters where the wind has blown down groves of trees. We used to have a tree-lined freeway over here, and all of those trees got taken out by the wind and the heavy rain. And I know a lot of people have issues with their fences blowing down. Do you guys get a lot of calls for that? And do you deal with a lot of repairing fences and putting fences up?
Absolutely.
That's a big issue in Sacramento, especially in the past couple of years. So many fences going down.
Oh yeah. The good neighbor fencing, the 6 foot tall, they're just walls for wind.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
It's crazy. Yeah.
So you guys do fencing, you do electrical, do you do any plumbing work?
Yeah. We just don't, the only plumbing we really don't do is the trenchless sewer repair or anything that goes out to the street. We do all the in-house residential plumbing.
What about if you walk into a home and they've got original hardwood, but it's in bad shape? Do you guys contract that out? How would you guys help someone who's got, maybe they're selling their home and they want to get in good shape?
Like it's buckling? Like it got wet, or what do you mean?
It's just in bad shape. Like it just looks bad.
Just needs refinishing?
Yeah.
If that's
sanding and
thing,
refinishing, maybe.
If that's the only thing they need, I would just refer them to one of my flooring people. But if it's, a part of a bigger project, we actually had that yesterday. She has this 1,000-year-old piece of marble with gemstones embedded in it, and it's just gorgeous.
This is the flooring?
It's the mantle.
Oh, it's the mantle.
But the rest of the house is this Brazilian hardwood.
Okay.
So she's like, should we just tear out all this hardwood? And it's like, absolutely not. You can't replace this with anything even comparable.
Wow.
For the value of that flooring. Right. So I just told her I can find her a refinishing guy and we can move that mantle and put it where she wants it.
There you go. And it saves her a lot of money too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So that's another cool thing about working with you is you tell them if you can fix it or not. And then you're not just trying to gouge them either. Because there are great people in real estate and there's horrible people in real estate. There's great people in life and there's horrible people in life, right? And so handyman are people as well. And so unfortunately, though, it seems like the industry, generally speaking, tends to skew a little towards people who have substance abuse problems, people who don't necessarily care about personal hygiene, right? Things like that. So what we really appreciate because when we recommend somebody, here with Made for More Realty, you're an extension of the brand because they met us, they expect a certain quality of service, and then when we refer somebody out, they expect that to be in keeping with what they've received from us so far. And so working with you is just a pleasure. If you were to give anybody advice, like somebody who is thinking about selling their home or buying a home, if you were to purchase a property, what would you recommend they look at? The things through your lens. So I look at it and I'll see dry rot, or I'll see the neighborhood, or I'll see comps. But through the lens of a handyman, what is it you see when you walk into a home?
I look for craftsmanship. So if it's a flip or if it's a recently remodeled, what are they? I can get pretty cynical. So what are they trying to hide?
That's a good perspective. What are they trying to hide?
Yeah. So are they trying to cover anything up?
So what are some keys? What are some tells that, hey, they're trying to hide something here?
If there's a lot of cracks and then they didn't really fix it, they just put caulking in it or in the drywall or something like that. I mean, I haven't seen a house without a little bit of cracks in the drywall, especially on the corners.
Yeah.
Or around doors, something like that. But if there's just horror stories when people buy these houses not knowing that there's, settling issues and stuff like that.
Yeah. So things talking about flips specifically, because there's companies out there that do a fantastic job flipping homes. And there's companies that are just, oh man, they overpaid for the home, they under budgeted for the repairs, and now they're just trying to get out of the deal and they just need that thing sold. And so when I go in, again, craftsmanship is probably what I look at as well. So I look at the caulking around the windows and the bathrooms. I look at the baseboards, how well are they connected. I look at the tile work, the backsplashes, anywhere that they could have been sloppy. If that's a finished product and that's what you're able to see, and it looks sloppy, what kind of repairs did they or adjustments did they make that you can't see?
Yeah.
Right.
Because all of our repairs, I tell my guys and I tell my clients, like, my name's on this. So if 10 years from now someone says, who did this? Or, next week, who did this? I want them to say Spencer, and I want them to say, wow, not ugh.
Don't call that guy. Yeah, it's basically a billboard. These are billboards within people's homes and outside their homes that friends, family members, coworkers are going to walk by, and they're going to go, wow, your deck looks amazing. Who did that? And then Spencer, you call my guy Spencer, right? Or it's be like, that deck, is it leaning a little bit,
Yeah, why did he do that?
Why did he do that? Why didn't he do this? My guy's way better. And then all of a sudden, you're losing business. So if somebody wants to reach out to you and send you business, like they're looking to get their home ready to either go on the market, or maybe they bought a house and they're like, hey, before we move in, we have some things we want repaired. They can, of course, reach out to us here at Made for More Realty. Just Google madeformorerealty.com. Reach out to us. Say, hey, give me that handyman's phone number. Give me Spencer's contact info, and we can do it. But if they want to reach out to you directly, what's the best way?
Cell phone. Yeah.
Cell phone?
Absolutely.
Okay, and so what's your number?
916-934-9915.
9915. 916-934?
Correct.
9915. There we go. 934. So I was born and raised in Kalinga, and it was 935 for the longest time. 935. So it's 559 because it's Fresno, 559, 935, whatever. And then when the town started growing, they added the 934.
Nice.
So, hey, I love the 934. All right, so any final thoughts? Like if somebody... So I'm always curious, like people are always constantly trying to figure out, how do I improve the value of my home without spending the most amount of money, right? And oftentimes general contractors tend to be more expensive, handyman tend to be less. General contractors, licensed and bonded, like there's a higher degree of professionalism there, handyman less. So if somebody was wanting to reach out and figure out, hey, should I call a contractor or should I call a handyman? Where does that line? Because you do both, so they should just call you. But how would they differentiate?
So, I mean, a lot of my job is just problem solving. It's not exactly the fix or it's what are you actually looking to get out of this project? Mm-hmm. So when it comes to adding value to the home, when they're trying to sell, I always defer to the realtor, which has the highest priority. What's going to add the most value for the budget?
Yeah.
That's a problem I've seen is they assume handyman's going to be cheaper, and they expect lower quality fixes, and I just don't do that. So if they want me to cut corners or cover up anything, I just say, this isn't what we do. We either fix it correctly or we don't fix it at all.
Love that. A lot of integrity and ethics there. So when I'm trying to figure out how to phrase this, but let me ask you this: do you do any investor work, like work with investors, or is it typically directly with the homeowners?
I've gotten phone calls with that. I can't say. Actually, yeah, we have done a few repairs for people that don't live in the house, but they're not flipping it, but I guess they were investors.
But it's not like, hey, and somebody bought the house, wants to flip it, they can't call you and you'll run the whole job?
Oh, they absolutely can.
They can?
Yeah.
Okay. So for those of people who are listening, like, hey, I have this great deal, I just don't know how to make the repairs, they can reach out to you.
Yeah, I mean, most of the time those investors already have the full plan.
They do.
Before they buy.
They do. But sometimes there's people who they thought they'd do it themselves, and then they realize they got in over their head, and they're like,
yeah,
call Spencer.
I see that a lot. They're halfway through, and they're like, oh, this is terrible. I'm calling somebody.
I'm tired, because they have to go to their work. They have to go to their regular job.
Yeah.
And then they're trying to do it on the off hours, and then...
Yeah, after the 5th Home Depot trip of the day, they're done.
Exactly. So is there any insight or any input that you want to share with the listeners before we end the show?
I mean...
So what would be so you show up on time, you show up professional, you don't cut corners, you get the job done, you're a handyman, and a general contractor, so you do both. It's not just you, right? You have 2 guys that work for you as well, that do the handyman stuff. In addition to all that, like the typical handyman that shows up, it's just him, right? And so if you can't get him or he's backed up on a job, on another job, you'll be delayed in getting the work done, but it's you plus 2. So you got more depth to your skill set. Is there anything I'm missing that really differentiates you from the typical run-of-the-mill handyman?
Not really. I mean, the personality and communication is we really prioritize that, and I see that that's the biggest complaint from homeowners is, I can't get a call back, or they didn't show up again, or stuff like that, and we just pride ourselves in high integrity and doing the best job we can.
Yeah, I totally understand having a budget, and some people are on a fixed income, low income, no income, trying to sell properties or, make moves. But in my experience, calling the cheap person is not always the best. They'll reschedule on you. They'll end up being more expensive because they won't do it correctly. Really just, this is potentially your largest investment. Invest in this largest investment so that way you make the most amount of money.
Absolutely.
So Spencer, thank you so much for being on the show. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
All right, looking forward to next time.